For this episode of Strangers and Aliens, I'll be ranking the Superman movies from best to worst. This will be the definitive list of the Superman movies, best to worst. Will you agree? Do you agree with my list? Let's find out. Hey, I'm Ben Avery. This is Strangers and Aliens, and if you've interacted with the podcast at all in the past, then you probably know that I am a big fan of the character of Superman, especially the Superman movies. And we just did an episode, a 90-minute episode for the podcast feed. It's here on YouTube, but it's also on our regular audio podcast feed, where Evan and I talk about the new Superman movie. But we've done a whole bunch of things about Superman over at strangersandaliens.com over the years. And this is the episode where I'm just going to rank them all. I'm going to rank those movies from best to worst. I'm going to go through them in chronological order, and I would really love to hear from you what you think about my list and also what your list would be. I mean, don't just say that my list is garbage without telling me what your list is. That's gold. The point being, I really enjoy the Superman movies, and I really enjoyed this new one. And so I'm going to go through all of them, and I'm going to start with the movie that I'm not going to talk about, and that is the Superman serials. And those are great. They are enjoyable in their way. You need to have a taste for that kind of a thing, that episodic black and white. Special effects aren't always, there, not let alone bad. There's not always there. For the purposes of this list, I'm not including the Kirk Alyn Superman serials, but I am starting with Superman and the Mole Men. From 1951, Superman and the Mole Men was actually almost like a pilot episode for the Adventures of Superman TV show. And they actually then took that movie, they tout it as the first feature-length Superman movie. It's longer than an hour, but not by much. And they took that movie, chopped it down a little bit, and turned it into a two-parter for the Adventures of Superman TV show. And so for the purposes of this list, I'm going to say that it is, to start with, it's going to the number one spot. And so, number one, I don't know which way it's going to be when I do the graphics on the screen here, but the number one spot is going to go right now to Superman and the Mole Men. But that's only because I'm going to be adding them to the list, and they will be, the rankings are going to change as we go. So this is my chronological listing. And so in 1951, if you would have asked me what's the best Superman movie that's out there, I would have definitely said Superman and the Mole Men, because it is also the only Superman movie out there. It's an interesting movie. It definitely fits into that 1950s sci-fi vibe. The music, it fits into that. The aliens, it's low budget, but at the same time, it's an interesting movie because it actually has something to say. It's not about invading aliens. It's about aliens who were invaded by us and who are now coming up to see what's going on. I enjoy it. It's a great film, and it definitely deserves the number one spot here in 1951. Next up, 1978's Superman the Movie. And this is obviously one of the things that made me a lifelong Superman fan. The Adventures of Superman show had gone on for about 10 years, and so it's been a long time since we'd really seen any kind of live action Superman on the screen. And so when this movie came out, one of the things it was coming out kind of against was, first of all, the grimy, gritty 70s cinema, and second of all, Adam West's Batman. And so you have this movie where it just took it seriously, and you cast Christopher Reeve. And the one thing I will say about this movie is I love this movie a lot, just a lot. I realize that I kind of feel a little like, we're moving into clown shoes territory whenever Gene Hackman shows up as Lex Luthor, especially when Otis is being pulled around with him. It just... not the greatest parts of the movie, but the movie itself, you've got the three parts. You've got the Krypton stuff, you have the Smallville stuff, you have the Metropolis stuff. It's like you get three movies for the price of one, and they each have their own kind of arcs, and I love this movie so much. And so of course this is going to go into the number one spot. So as of 1978, we would have Superman and the Mole Men is now number two, and Superman the Movie takes the number one spot. Will it hold the spot for the entire length of this? For me, let's find out. It's not a perfect movie, I will say that right now, but I recently rewatched it, and it's a movie that I've watched over and over and over and over again over the years. And while certain parts don't necessarily hold up, as a whole, it does. And I love it. Next up, we have 1981's Superman 2. And Superman 2 is one of those movies that way back in the day when me and my friends would be discussing movies that are better than the original, we would talk about Star Wars and Empire Strikes Back, and we would talk about Superman and Superman 2. And in some ways, Superman 2 is a better film than the first one on a surface level. And what I mean by that is you have supervillains that actually give him a run for his money. You have a really, actually, especially back then, it was a fantastic superhero fight. You've never seen a live action superhero fight like you saw in Superman 2, where they are flying around, they are engaging in battle as they are flying. Superman, the movie, did this amazing stuff. You will believe a man can fly, and in Superman 2, you'll believe that multiple people can fly at the same time as they're having hand-to-hand combat, and they're throwing each other against cars, and they're getting thrown into giant lit up Coca-Cola signs and things like that. And it's got an arc for Superman that's one of the where it kind of starts that whole trend of, in the sequel, the hero loses his powers. And so it built on the first one. I will say that I don't think it is better than Superman the movie these days, but I do think that Superman 2 and Superman the movie, both these movies, when you put them together, makes both these movies better. Superman 2, I am going to put in the second spot. I got to stop pointing because it's not going to make sense when I put graphics on the screen. But I can put it in the second spot. So we've got Superman 2, the movie Superman 2, and Superman and the Mole Men. Those are our top 3 spots right now because there's only 3 spots. So as of 1981, this is our top 3. Next up is 1983's Superman 3. And I have to say, I used to just think this movie was dumb. I just did not like it. Here's my quick review of this. Superman 3 has some of the best live-action Superman material in it and some of the worst live-action Superman material in it. I mean, the scene where the don't walk, light-up figures climb up into each other's box and start punching each other with... It's clown shoes, and that's another short review. The Superman 3 is when Superman takes off his super boots and puts on clown shoes. There's just dumb moments, and most of them have to do when Gus, or whatever his last name is, when Richard Pryor is on the screen and doing some of the stuff that he's doing. However, I recently rewatched it, and when I rewatched it this time, I didn't hate it as much. Now, the dumb stuff was still kind of dumb, but the good stuff was really good. I mean, him going home to Smallville, seeing Lana Lang, Brad is there, and they just, these 3 movies then, when you talk about the live action Superman trilogy at the time, it actually kind of was a nice way of wrapping around back on itself, where it starts out, you got Krypton as a prologue, Smallville, Metropolis, and then Superman 2, he's fighting people from Krypton, and then in Superman 3, he's returning to Smallville, and he's interacting with Lana again. And it makes actually for a really nice trilogy when you put these movies together. It does have dumb stuff, but it also has really cool stuff where you have almost Brainiac. Almost. And when you have him, especially the, not the whole, evil Superman makes mild inconveniences for the world around him. But when I watched it this time, it wasn't so much like, oh, he's just doing dumb stuff like the Leaning Tower of Pisa. He makes it straight again. He blows out the Olympic torch. He's actually just doesn't care about anyone. He just doesn't care about anyone except for himself. And he's just going out and he's just, who's number one? I'm number one. And that is the anti-Superman. He's not being kind. And he's not helping people. He's doing things on his time, the way he wants to do it. And then he just goes off and becomes completely evil. And for Superman, that means becoming completely self-absorbed. And so it works for me. And so here you have him then fighting himself in the junkyard scene. And that has always been amazing, always been cool. When I was a kid, it was cool. And it was cool again watching it as an adult recently. And so it is something that, because of the new Superman movie, I've been revisiting these other Superman movies, and I'm really glad that I revisited this one and didn't skip it because, it wears clown shoes. However, as I'm putting it in my ranking, I think that for us, as of 1983, I am going to be putting this in the number 4 spot. This is the worst of the Superman movies as of right now. Will it stay the worst? I don't know. Will Superman the movie stay the first? We'll find out. I do know that one because, well, I just know, and you can probably guess. But what are your thoughts about Superman 3, though? Let me know in the comments below. Next, Going to get a little controversial with this one, I think. 1987's Superman 4, The Quest for Peace, also known as Superman 4, the one that killed the franchise. I like this movie. I like what it's trying to do. I like what it does. Does it succeed perfectly? No, not at all. Not by any stretch of the imagination. But it does try and do some new things. It creates the new villain, brings Lex Luthor back. Now, again, every time Lex Luthor is on the stage in Superman 1 or 2 or 4, to me, things just kind of grind to a halt, and suddenly you have to sit through all the cringy stuff. But that said, he is the foil for Superman. I mean, he is its brain and brawn, and it's selfishness, selflessness. And I've talked about this in my Superman comic episode that we just did recently. But Superman 4, there's some good fights, there's some bad effects. And so, is it great? No, it's not. But again, this is Christopher Reeve saying, okay, I want to do something different. And so, this is Superman where Christopher Reeve says, okay, what's something I can say with this character? What's something I can say about the world? And it's about the Cold War. It's about, the nuclear threat. And it's about then Superman saying, okay, how can I change the world? What's something I can do to actually make the world a better place? I can get rid of all the nukes, And so I like what they do with this movie, where it kind of creates this alternate timeline. I mean, it already is an alternate timeline because you have a Kryptonian living on Earth. But I like what he was trying to do. He was trying to say something, and it does come through in spite of everything else about how bad this movie is. It also has that scene where Superman and Clark Kent go on a double date with Lois Lane and Mariel Hemingway. I can't remember her character's name, but yeah. Superman 4 is actually going to take the number 3 spot. So Superman and the Mole Men is getting pushed away, and number 1 is still Superman, number 2 is Superman 2, but Superman 4 is taking that number 3 spot right now. 19 years later, 2006, Superman Returns. It's one of those reboot-ish kind of a things, where it's a reboot-ish because it's saying Superman 1 took place, Superman 2 took place, but Superman 3 and 4 never happened. This is an alternate timeline. Superman's been gone for a while. Now he's back. And my review of this movie when I was talking with some friends was, I always forget about this movie, but it doesn't deserve to be forgotten. It's actually a pretty good movie. And Brandon Routh, the way he plays Superman, I mean, he channels Christopher Reeve almost perfectly. It's a great characterization of someone who is trying to take someone else's character and be that actor in character. And he does a great job with it. The movie itself, there's some goofy parts to it, but that's because they're coming off of Superman 1 and Superman 2. Lex Luthor is still doing the real estate thing, and which makes sense because that's what he did in the first one. But so it's not a perfect movie by any stretch, but I will say that I enjoyed it. I enjoyed going to the theater and seeing it. And as far as what spot is it going to take, now we're into which movies would I rather watch? Like if I'm going to sit down and watch a movie, that's kind of how I'm reviewing this. And so I'm going to put this in the number 3 spot. So number 1, Superman the movie, number 2, Superman 2, number 3, Superman Returns. If I'm going to choose a movie, Superman Returns would be above these other 3, Superman 4, Mole Men, and Superman 3. Superman Returns is up there, but will it stay up there? Again, I don't know. What did you think about Superman Returns, though? I mean, it was controversial in some ways, but it was controversial because it was trying to play it so safe. Like the controversy didn't come from them trying to be different. It came from them trying to play it safe and play the nostalgia. And I enjoyed it, but it's not perfect. Bringing us to 2013 and Man of Steel, where we're getting a complete reboot. We are not going to lean in on nostalgia. We are going to have new music. We're going to have a new actor. We're going to have a new costume. We're going to have a new tone. We're going to have a new franchise. Because the MCU has been doing great, so why can't we over at DC, right? And so we have Zack Snyder's Man of Steel. And if Superman Returns was controversial because it was playing the nostalgia and playing it safe, Man of Steel was controversial because it took risks. It took chances. It was trying to not quite emulate Iron Man and emulate Dark Knight, but it was trying to do something different. It was trying to, in the darkness, still be optimistic. Did it succeed? Did it fail? Well, some people believe it is the greatest thing ever. based on what you're reading on social media now, some people believe it was the worst thing ever based on social media back then. But none of these movies that we're talking about are movies that I have hated. I really liked Henry Cavill as Superman. I really enjoyed this movie. The controversial parts, the part where he kills Zod at the end, I appreciated that because they're trying to take this character who's saying, I want to do what's right, but now I'm faced with, the trolley problem is really what you have here. It's Superman versus the trolley problem. And the trolley problem is, do I let people die by not taking action, or do I take action, but the only action is to kill? And he chooses to kill. He chooses to take action, but it's not an action he would like to take. And he has an emotional breakdown because of it. And I liked what they were trying to do. Now, is it perfect? No, of course not. None of these are perfect because I don't think you can make a perfect Superman movie. No one is going to be happy with everything that you do. And so it's just not going to make everyone happy. And this list is not going to make everyone happy. But I would place Man of Steel. It's going to edge out Superman Returns, and it's going to take that number 3 spot in between Superman 2 and Superman Returns. I enjoyed it quite a bit. 3 years later, 2016, we get Batman v Superman, and I won't say that it completely destroyed all the goodwill that I had because of Man of Steel, but I will say that it was not a movie that I really enjoyed a lot. There were parts of it that I did like. I did like having that dynamic between Superman and Batman. I like bringing in Wonder Woman. The whole Doomsday thing, it wasn't great. It wasn't great. The whole Martha thing, I actually like the Martha thing. I know a lot of people make fun of it, but at the same time, maybe it wasn't the greatest script decision to make as far as, hey, let's find a way to make a connection between these two men. And that connection that we're making between these two men is actually saying, like, this one is... he's a person, not a human, but he's a person. And having Batman realize Superman is a person because he actually has a mother. He was raised by someone, and he's not just out there, willy-nilly and just letting things fall the way they did. I did like the follow-up to all the death and destruction in Man of Steel, and so you have Batman kind of responding to that. And anyway, it's not a great movie for me, but again, anything on this list is a movie that is a movie that I liked, and I did like this movie. However, this one actually, and this is going to be controversial for some of you, this one is going to go below Superman 4, and I know some of you are like, what? How can you do that? Superman 4 is like the worst movie. But if I'm thinking about which movie I'd rather watch, Superman 4 wins. So... yeah, I'm sorry, but Superman 4 is Superman, and Batman v Superman is the nuclear man of this. So, yeah. So I'm now going to skip the Justice League movie, and I just don't consider that a Superman movie. It is an ensemble film. He's in the movie, but I'm not going to count it for the purposes of this list. He's not in the title, and he's a major part of the Justice League movie, but truthfully, I would just stick the Justice League movie in with Batman v Superman. I liked it. I liked the Snyder Cut. Snyder Cut was better because, honestly, Joss Whedon, his fingerprints were all over that film. And it was like, I'm going to put my fingerprints on this now. But that's what they hired him to do, That's what they hired him to do. And what are you going to do? When someone hires you to say, hey, I want you to do this movie because you're you, then you say, okay, and I'll do it because I'm me. I'm going to do it my way, And that's what we actually get in this next movie as well. 2025's Superman. And I enjoyed this movie so much. I talked about it for 90 minutes with Evan. You can watch it here or you can listen to it on our podcast feed. But Evan and I had a lot of fun talking about that movie and watching that movie. And I liked the way they portrayed Superman. I won't say this is better than Christopher Reeve, but it is different than Christopher Reeve. And it's good. It's a good characterization. I prefer the Christopher Reeve characterization, but this guy, David Cornsweet, he did a great job, and I don't know if I said his name right, but name right, name wrong. He did a great job, and the movie itself was about Superman trying to figure out what does it mean to be Superman, and it asks the right questions and answers them in ways that I appreciated. And so I'm going to place Superman from 2025. Let's see here. Yeah, I'm gonna place it at the number 2 spot right now. I mean, I had a lot of fun watching it, and so I know this list might be there's gonna be people watching this who are like, yeah, I can kind of see where you're coming from, Ben, but there's gonna be other people who are like, you are crazy. What are you thinking? And so I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. Like, what is your listing of the Superman movies? And would you include Justice League? Would you include the Superman serials that they did? And if you would, where would you put those? But I would love to hear you tell me, where am I wrong? Where am I right? And obviously, it's all opinion, and so there is no right or wrong here, except my opinion is the one that gets a graphic on the screen. So it's right, wrong. It's a graphic on the screen. What can I say? So thank you for spending time with me. Thank you for sticking with me for the entire list. And again, check us out, strangersandaliens.com. That's where you can find our podcast, but also hit like, hit subscribe. We're going to talk about more C.S. Lewis upcoming in the upcoming episodes. We're going to be talking about the Fantastic Four movie, and I don't know if I'll do a ranking of the Fantastic Four movies. It could be interesting, but it'll also be short. So anyway, until next time, thanks for listening, thanks for watching, and Godspeed.